I was saying maybe Donald Trump was sent to us for a reason. If you think, no, I'm not being glib here. If you think about what drives him, what motivates him more than anything, is to be the ultimate hero, to be the ultimate contrarian. Donald Trump, more than anybody else in history right now, has the opportunity. I'm going to play to, I know if I was Ivanka, I'd walk into his office and say, Dad, wait a second. You've got those 30% that are going to follow you anywhere. Can you imagine if you came forward and said, the buck stops here. There will be enhanced background checks. There will be no more assault weapons. Those congressmen will then follow you because they kind of have no choice. You're not getting primaried for 3 years. And even if you were, your 30%, to your point, would follow you even if you killed somebody on Fifth Avenue.
But Donny, let me ask you this, though, Donny. But Donald Trump has proven to be a coward. He's proven to be a small man. He's proven to be scared. He is so scared of his most extreme base. He is a coward. Name one time when he hasn't stepped out to try to show a little bit of original thinking. And then he curls back up into a fetal position. He becomes cowardly, and he listens to the most extreme members of the black helicopter
I'm going to say that
why would Donald Trump stop being a coward now? Why would he stop being
my hope in what
a frightened little man now?
Is that his ego is bigger than his cowardice, and he has a chance, frankly, to be brave with no downside. If you really think about it, no other president, because of this weird place he's in, has been in this position actually to do it. He can be brave with really no downside. I mean, really, by the way, we would forgive Russia. We would say, you know what? Okay, a couple of bots jumped in there. This is our children. It's really weird that
it is an opportunity for him.
No other president could do this politically. He has served up because of the insane place we've gotten to. Donald, in one fell swoop, dude. What?
95% of Americans would agree with you.
80% on the assault weapons. Amazing. So I want to play that. The other thing, the other idea, and Casey, maybe this is naive, because unfortunately we all know 2 days from now we're going to move on. Casey, is it possible that every Tuesday we make Children's Tuesday, and that anybody with a microphone or a pen from here on in starts every interview with every member of 535 members of Congress, just for 30 seconds, very quickly, sir, are you for enhanced background checks and are you for assault weapons? And if they go Second Amendment, no, yes or no, yes or no. If that starts every interview every Tuesday with every politician here on in, so that stays forward. And everybody has to answer that till we get to a point we've got 535 people on record one way or the other. Really interesting thing. Every single interview starts every Tuesday with that one question to every politician.
Well, Donny, I mean, I'm not opposed to trying that. I would say that there are an awful lot of us out there. I think it might be difficult to get everybody on the same page, but I think that what you're talking about is the sort of thing that would potentially start to drive the kind of change that we're talking about. I mean, the issue here is that these tragedies happen. Everybody responds. There is a political playbook for what happens in the wake of a tragedy like this. And it is to have people like the Speaker say, let's not talk about politics. Then there's a day or two of conversation. We have just this morning, Chairman Bob Goodlatte of the Judiciary Committee floating the idea that perhaps we should revisit the fact that in this country it's illegal to do research about the public health impact of guns because of a long ago amendment that was added to a bill. They'll say, okay, well, maybe we'll try this. It happened with bump stocks. They said, let's look at it. Where are we on bump stocks? Nowhere. But Sutherland Springs, Texas, there's actually a bipartisan bill that John Cornyn has signed on to that says, you know what, the Air Force should be required to send their mental health information to the NICS background check system. Seems simple. It's gone nowhere.
Hit on something, though, that's at the heart of this, it seems to me. And at the heart of this is commerce. It is unadulterated greed. Folks, this is not about the right to bear arms. It's about the right to sell arms. Period. And so whether he could be courageous in this moment or not, the fact of the matter is we're going to have to tackle that people are making money off of these weapons of destruction. And until we address that fact, that the NRA is just simply a gun lobby, a gun manufacturer's lobby, right? We can talk about guns all day. It's just folk are greedy. Period.
To Joe, to your point, I think, you know, this is not, and to Donny's point, there have been a lot of issues where Donald Trump has been presented with the possibility of he could be Nixon going to China, and on every one of them, we saw one yesterday. Immigration, another issue
Dreamers.
where, boy, if you want to be Nixon going to China, here's a great chance for you. In almost every instance, he's ended up governing like a conventional conservative and not being interested in being Nixon or in seeing any part of China. So I think the point you made, Joe, is the right point. The president's not going to do gun control or gun safety. He's not going to do that. What he will do, and there's already reporting coming out of the White House to suggest this, is that he's going to focus on the things that conservatives like to focus on in these situations. He's going to talk about mental health and probably something to do with school safety. But he's not, which are fine. Some of those things are fine, but they're not really the point because we all know what the real point is here. So that's where the president's going to end up, and he will say, we don't want to just talk big. We want to actually solve the problem. The way to solve the problem is with mental health and school safety. Probably those won't go anywhere either, but that's where he will probably come down because, as I said, not Nixon, not interested in seeing China. Or China, as he said.
And Jane, I mean, again, this is such a political win. You could be, it's one of these examples of where people go, wow, he's being courageous, and 95% of Americans are for him on background checks. Wow, he sure is courageous. How 80% of Americans would be with him on military-style assault weapons. He doesn't show that courage. But when he goes to mental health, as we've said before, the first gun law he signed made it easier for people with mental illness to purchase guns. Right. And now they're talking about certain cuts to health care that would actually make the federal government less responsive to people like the guy that gunned down all of those students yesterday. He can't talk about mental health because he and the Republican Party have made it easier for people with mental health challenges to buy military-style weapons.
Medicaid provides something like 25% or pays for something like 25% of mental health services in this country. So if when you cut Medicaid, you're gonna cut mental health funding, and not that the Republicans have ever been lobbying for more mental health funding. They just want to talk about it for a little while and then not do anything, continue with the cuts. So that's totally unserious. I do not see Donald Trump doing a Nixon to China sort of thing on guns. But to Eddie's point, when you talk about commerce, one other change there should be is there should be liability. There should be liability for the manufacturers of these assault weapons. And it's ridiculous when they say, well, you can't tell the difference between an assault weapon and something else. Of course you can. I can. You can. Anybody can. You draw a line and you say, look, when these weapons of war are used in a way, there is liability for the manufacturer. That would go a long way toward helping us end this carnage.
Mika, there are a lot of news stories out today, and obviously this horrible tragedy in Florida has taken up most of our time, but we do need to talk at some point about a possible deal between Rick Gates, one of Donald Trump's top campaign advisors, and the man who knows where all of the bodies are buried when it comes to Paul Manafort, who probably knows where a lot of the bodies are buried when it comes to Russian involvement in the campaign. He's apparently close to striking a deal with Bob Mueller. That would be, of course, Gates and Flynn and Papadopoulos, and I mean, this is a significant development in the investigation when you have Flynn, Papadopoulos, Manafort, and Rick Gates all indicted, and 3 of those 4 now cooperating with the investigation. And there's just no telling. I talked to a Trump insider this past weekend who said there is no telling how many people inside the White House have been wearing wires for how long. There's no loyalty running to the president. And this person estimated that maybe up to a dozen people were wearing wires and have been wearing wires for a long time. This Gates breaking news is significant, and we should talk about it soon.
Hey, Joe, just to your point very quickly. Hey, Donald, you want to back everybody up on the Russian probe? Save the kids. It's a really interesting.